long trip down to Cardiff was the first job of the season for Nigel Adkins' Charges, and although the Bluebirds were strongly fancied to be in and around the top six at the end of the season, the Iron very nearly got off to the perfect start at the Cardiff City Stadium when Hayes played in strike partner Hooper, who couldn't get his right-footed effort past Marshall in the Cardiff goal. The home side did take the lead though, McCormick with the smart turn, and the ball found its way across to Chopra, whose wickedly deflected shot looped over Murphy to put the Iron 1 goal down. Not long after, Cardiff scored their second. Jade Bothroyd's goal was allowed to stand despite a huge appeal for offside from players and supporters alike. It got worse for the Iron too. Cardiff made it 3-0 when the Bothroyd-Chopra combination linked up well again for the latter to crash home from the inside of the area. Cardiff were rampant and broke clear of the United defence again when Burke went around the outside of Woolford, who eventually brought him down for a penalty. Whittingham beat Murphy with his left-footed spot kick. Cardiff ran out comfortable winners in the end. United were left with a long journey home to reflect on what had happened in their first game of the new campaign. Chesterfield fell behind within 12 minutes when Gary Hooper set up Matt Sparrow, despite Tommy Lee's best efforts. Lee then pulled off a fine save to deny Hooper and keep Chesterfield in the hunt. But despite more heroics, Paul Hayes blasted home the rebound from a Michael O'Connor free kick after 54 minutes to make it 2-0. Drew Talbot earned Chesterfield a penalty and a route back into the game when Rob Jones was judged to have made contact. Darren Curry sent Lillis the wrong way with the clock ticking down. The Spyrites went close to an equaliser when Williams cleared a Bowery header off the goal line. Final score though, 2-1. The Rams were in town and the United fans were in good voice, and after a quarter of an hour those voices got even louder when marksman Hooper was on hand to score after Wolford's drive was only parried by Bywater. Derby then pulled a goal back when a slick back-to-front passing move was finished by Green, and United were left wondering exactly what had hit them. Then it was Derby's turn to reel as some exquisite link-up play between Hooper and Hayes led to Hooper rifling his second of the match. The referee then awarded Derby a penalty when Murphy was deemed to have fouled Green in the area. The 7,300 strong crowd watched as Chris Commons scored from the spot to level things up at 2-2. In the 82nd minute, the game was won by Martin Woolford. Sparrow played him in. He finished coolly, just as he did when he scored the winner in the Wembley playoff final in May. Gareth Southgate and his troops made the journey to Glanford Park and were generously received by the local crowd. When the formalities were out of the way and the action started, it was the Iron who were on the attack. But when McCann's powerful volley was blocked, Borough quickly countered, and within seconds, Southgate's men had charged down the pitch and scored. O'Neill's pinpoint cross found Adam Johnson, who found a tasty finish to match the move. In the second half, Rhys Williams broke clear of the Iron defence and was pulled down by O'Connor in the box. Referee Mr Oliver awarded the penalty, which Johnson stepped up to take. Remarkably, the penalty was saved by Murphy, but he managed to foul Johnson, who was following up, and the official once again pointed to the spot. Murphy was booked for the foul. Johnson took the second penalty and scored, and Borough led by 2-0. There were more than 20,000 at Hillsborough for the visit of local rivals Scunthorpe, and both sets of supporters were convinced that their side would take the bragging rights. However, in the end it turned out to be horribly one-sided in Wednesday's favour. After some early pressure, the Owls forced a corner, which was swung in deep and headed home by Wood on the back post after only 6 minutes. Then, with only 12 minutes played, Jermaine Johnson tried his luck from the edge of the box, and the hosts were 2-0 up. And on 34 minutes the game was effectively over, with Marcus Tudgay's header. The second half was all about damage limitation, but Wednesday managed to get another goal, Darren Potter firing home a superb half volley. After the game, Nigel Adkins said the performance was a million miles away from the standards he'd set. And it was Scunthorpe who scored first. Josh Wright with a corner, Niall Canavan with a near-post header. But Swansea pulled themselves level through a long-range effort from Dobby, which somehow squirmed at Murphy's near post. Then came a pivotal moment in the match, a straight red card for Monk after an off-the-ball incident, and the Swans were left to fight on with just 10 men. Despite being a man down, Swansea continued to attack, and Murphy pulled off an outstanding save to deny Pintado, who did, however, look suspiciously offside. Into extra time, and the game descended into chaos. The referee awarding Scunthorpe a penalty when he spotted an infringement in the area. Hooper then smashed the penalty home, despite the remaining Swansea players deliberately encroaching in the area. Then the referee sent off Swansea's Pintado, who upon his dismissal shouted in the official's face and then threw drink bottles around on the sidelines. The 9 men of Swansea then became 8, as Rangel was sent off for blatant use of the elbow on Matt Sparrow. A win is a win. Queen's Park Rangers made the journey north from the capital with new boy Jay Simpson, who they had on loan from Arsenal. United, after making a slow start, were just trying to avoid a 4th defeat in 5 league games. With less than 3 minutes played, Adel Tarabt burst through the Iron defence to score and ease the pressure on manager Jim Magilton. Rangers could easily have a second had it not been for an excellent save from Murphy. Scunthorpe created some decent openings themselves, but their best came from Sparrow, who played the ball left to Wolford and then advanced into the box for the return, only to just miss when any contact would have been a certain goal. Grant McCann then had Radek Cherney at full strength from a left-footed free kick, and QPR created another opening from which they should at least have hit the target, but blazed high over the crossbar instead, and it finished 1-0 to the visitors. Scunthorpe were desperate to kickstart their season, hopefully by giving someone a good thrashing to restore some confidence, and it just so happened that their victims would be Palace at Selhurst Park. Joe Murphy's long clearance and some calamitous defending, allowing Jonathan Fort to slot home from an acute angle. Palace did create chances of their own, although Murphy or his woodwork prevented the ball from crossing the line. The Palace defence were caught ball watching as Paul Hayes slipped in behind them to add Scunthorpe's second and put the Iron well in command. United's third followed shortly after. Fort causing the defensive problems before Togwell hit a snapshot which left the Palace keeper with no chance at all. Less than 2 minutes later, Julian Speroni was beaten for a fourth time. This time it was Michael O'Connor on the end of a Scunthorpe move. It left the near 13,000 crowd at Selhurst Park booing their side's performance. The referee then awarded Palace a penalty, adjudging Sam Togwell to have handled the ball, which did seem a little bit harsh. Sears wrestled the ball away from Downs and placed it on the spot, only for Murphy to save brilliantly, diving to his right. Next up, Scunthorpe welcomed Preston North End to Glanford Park, and they were still on the crest of a wave after their demolition of Palace at the weekend. It took them only a dozen minutes to find the net in this game too. Grant McCann, the beneficiary of Hooper's square ball, to start an almost Brazilian celebration. Three minutes before the break, it was 2-0. McCann's cross finding its way to Hooper, who beat one defender before a shot deflected into the net and silenced the home crowd's very audible complaints about the referee. It was 3-0 only 8 minutes after the interval. Preston gave the ball away cheaply in midfield, and Hooper was quickly through the middle to side-foot home his second and the Irons' third. In the 58th minute, Preston pulled a goal back through Parkin, who capitalised on a defensive mix-up after a near-side corner. Preston were lucky not to be reduced to 10 men when Sedgwick left a foot in a sliding challenge and caught Murphy in the face. The Scunthorpe players reacted angrily to protect their keeper, but the ref stepped in quickly to restore order. Back-to-back wins for Scunthorpe, and as his players left the field, Nigel Atkins was a happy man.
Gary Johnson had plenty of selection problems ahead of the visit of in-form Scunthorpe because of a virus that had swept through his squad. City looking to continue their 100% record at Ashton Gate this season. But it was Scunthorpe who started the brighter in an opening half of few chances. Jonathan Forte's goal was disallowed after a very tight offside call. Fans of slapstick comedy will appreciate Bristol City's opener. Look out for the clearance, which goes straight to Rican Saborio for his first goal since joining on loan from Swiss side Sion. That was the first City goal not to be scored by Nicky Maynard at Ashton Gate this season. An injury to Gary Hooper after Scunthorpe had used all their substitutes saw the Iron finish with 10 men, but their resolve was rewarded deep into injury time. Grant McCann grabbing a late equaliser to end a very enjoyable week for Nigel Adkins.
Port Vale gave Scunthorpe an early scare in the Carling Cup, but this effort was ruled out for offside. No matter how they tried, Scunthorpe couldn't find a way through in normal time. Jonathan Fort and Paul Hayes both had efforts blocked. So the game went into extra time, and Paul Hayes got a telling touch on Togwell's shot to give him the lead. Togwell was again involved for the second, and Grant McCann's goal-bound effort was made certain by Fort. So another win, and Scunthorpe through to the next round. A typical fierce derby match was on the cards as Rovers made the short journey to Glanford Park. And Hampshire official Mr Stroud knew it could be a tough afternoon when he awarded Rovers a 12th-minute penalty after Coppinger was hacked down near the edge of the box. Martin Woods buried the penalty in the bottom left corner and led the celebrations in the midday sun. On the hour mark, Donny went 2 up when Billy Sharp glanced home a header against his former employers to send the red and white section of the near 8,000 crowd into a frenzy. On 68 minutes the tensions boiled over, and after a brief consultation between the ref and his assistant, John Oster saw a straight red for an off-the-ball incident that left United's McCann needing stitches to a facial injury. And that proved to be a pivotal point in the game. Scunthorpe captain Cliff Byrne glanced in a corner in the 72nd minute to give the hosts a glimmer of hope. The tackles were coming in thick and fast. Coppinger was caught from behind by Scunthorpe defender Williams, and after receiving attention on the field, it was decided that the only option for Rovers was to stretch the midfielder off. A big blow for Donny, as Coppinger had been tormenting United with his play all afternoon. Hooper then brought a fine near-post stop from Sullivan before a moment of sheer lunacy from Fortune that saw him dismissed for an atrocious tackle on Byrne. The 9 men of Rovers clung on desperately to their lead until the final minute. Woods needlessly raised his arm to block a cross. And Mr Stroud pointing straight to the spot was hardly surprising, despite the obligatory protests. Patched up McCann stepped up and put the penalty away to earn United a point and leave Rovers to rue their poor discipline. Facing Forest at the City Ground always looks like a tricky fixture, and United were under the cosh from the word go. A free kick left the United defence scrambling, in the middle of which Murphy somehow made a great reaction save. Scunthorpe did carve out some good chances in the game. Sam Togwell put Paul Hayes through on goal, but the Iron striker blasted his shot wide of the mark. Forrest lofted a ball into the United area, which Murphy headed back across his own goal, and in the ensuing mayhem, Murphy made a world-class save from point-blank range. Forrest had to wait until the 71st minute to break the deadlock. Cohen delivered their 10th corner of the game to the near post, and Chambers was on hand to head the ball home. 5 minutes later and United were undone again. This time it was Anderson's cross finding Blackstock on the near post, and when he scored, the 18,000 plus crowd erupted. Iron had a good shout for a penalty turned down. Fort was hauled to the ground, but the official played the advantage, and United could only watch as the ball came back off the post and into the keeper's arms. Another long away day for Nigel Adkins and his team, this time to Plymouth's home park. The early signs were good for United, with Togwell firing just over in the opening exchanges. Plymouth had to wait until the 57th minute to open the scoring. New Zealand international Rory Fallon with the header to beat Josh Lillis, who was deputising in the Scunthorpe goal. United equalised with 15 minutes to go when Andy Durso decided that Romain Lariou had upended Martin Woolford in the box. And up stepped Hooper to send the French goalkeeper the wrong way, although he didn't want to give the ball back to the United players who wanted to hurry up with the restart. Less than 2 minutes later, and Mr Durso had awarded Plymouth a penalty. Lillis came tearing out to bring down Alan Judge. Judge scored from the spot himself to relieve the pressure on manager Paul Sturrock and leave United with a long trip home and no points. The Blades were the next visitors to Glanford Park, and they were in exactly the right place to watch Grant McCann hit an absolute belter straight into the top corner after 22 minutes. The Blades got back on level terms just after the break when Ched Evans fired home a low free kick. But less than 2 minutes later, Scunthorpe were at it again. Another brilliant goal, this time from Paul Hayes. United's keeper Mark Bunn must have wished somebody else could take over. Just before the hour mark, the referee played a good advantage after a foul on halfway, and Scunthorpe were queuing up to score their third. Hooper crossed the ball, Josh Wright hit the post, and McCann finished it off with his second of the match, and again Sheffield's keeper got nowhere near it. The Blades had been well and truly blunted at Glanford Park, and the Iron deservedly took the points. Newcastle United were favourites by a long way to win the Championship this season and return to the Premier League, under the guidance of Chris Hughton. The last thing they were expecting at Glanford Park was a second consecutive away loss, but that is exactly what they got. Kevin Nolan was first to test keeper Joe Murphy, and the Scunthorpe custodian was in very fine form indeed. Just under 9,000 packed tightly into Glanford Park for this game, and it really added to the deafening noise when Woolford put the hosts in front on 53 minutes. "12 minutes later, the right foot of Nolan brought the Magpies level, but despite the exuberant celebration, the Iron would have the last laugh. On 75 minutes, the referee ducked out of the way nicely to allow the ball to be headed through to Woolford, who notched his second of the evening and sealed an impressive win for the Iron. And as you can imagine, when the final whistle came, there were not only huge cheers, but more than a few photographs of the scoreboard. So the Iron travelled to London Road to play Peterborough on the back of a famous win over leaders Newcastle United, but they came back down to earth with a bump, losing 3-0 against Peterborough in a game refereed by Mick Jones, the official relegated from the Premier League after the infamous beach ball goal. Posh opened the scoring on 25 minutes through Boyd, a neat turn and volley from just inside the box, giving Murphy no chance. Scunthorpe nearly got a goal back, but a terrific piece of defence from Rowe kept his side a goal to the good. On the stroke of half-time, Mikhail Smith took advantage of some poor Iron defending to make it 2-0 to Posh as he played the ball under Murphy's body. Peterborough showed their frailties in defence though, allowing the ball to bounce, and Fort was unlucky not to score with his acrobatic effort. Mikhail Smith could have scored a third for Posh, but a post with only keeper Murphy to beat. When O'Connor was somewhat confusingly penalised by the Cheshire official for a foul in the area, Posh did score a third, and it was Boyd who was successful with a spot kick with just over 10 minutes left to play. As time petered out at London Road, the Iron knew that there was no way back into the game and opted not to concede again, rather than to push forward. The world's richest football club had a 100% record against Scunthorpe United, and that wasn't about to change when they met in the FA Cup at Eastlands. Stephen Ireland netting City's first in the 3rd minute. But the multimillionaires were in for a real surprise when the defence was sliced open for Fort to equalise midway through the first half. City then moved through the gears though. Paraguay international Roque Santa Cruz on 38 minutes for 2-1, then England international Jolyon Lescott on 66 minutes for 3-1. Then, somewhat surprisingly, Argentinian striker Carlos Tevez was left unmarked to score in the 6-yard box. And to round things off, Michael Johnson bagged another for City. The last time these two sides met, things got a little out of hand. Swansea had 3 players sent off, and everyone was hoping for a better game than that. The Swans got off to a good start too, with a well-struck free kick that found its way all the way through from BT. Just moments later, he came close to adding his second, this time Murphy denying him with an excellent right-handed save. Murphy was at his best, and he really had to be with BT shooting at every opportunity, the Iron keeper denying him for a second time with another impressive save. The Swans did double their lead though when Van der Gun scored off the inside of Murphy's far post to make it 2-0. The Swans took the applause of their travelling support and all 3 points back to South Wales. Next up for the Iron was a trip to the seaside, although Bloomfield Road hardly looked like a holiday destination, with torrential rain coming down for the duration of the game. A perfectly observed minute's silence preceded the action, and when the game did get underway, Scunthorpe went close early on through McCann's left-footed drive from distance. The hosts then went even closer. Clark picked his spot and was unlucky to see his effort come off the inside of the post. A neat ball in from the right then found Hayes, who couldn't get enough on the header to find the target. But he made amends shortly afterwards, the Tangerines taking too much time on the ball in midfield and were easily dispossessed, before a perfect through ball allowed him to deftly chip over the keeper, much to the delight of the travelling supporters. The visitors' lead didn't last long though. A short free kick found Baptiste, whose back post cross found the head of Everett, who did well to angle his header over. With the match finally poised at 1-1, the turning point of the game occurred. A miscontrolled back pass from Murphy put Iron keeper Murphy in all kinds of trouble, and after his original ball-winning tackle to deny Clark, his second touch was well outside the area, leaving the referee no choice but to show him a straight red card. O'Connor was the outfield player sacrificed to enable Slocum to come on. His first job was to pick the ball out of the net, following a thunderbolt of a free kick from Blackpool's Charlie Adam. Blackpool continued to press forward with their man advantage and scored again in the 70th minute, Ben Burgess tapping home after Slocum had been unable to hold the cross from the left. Blackpool then got a fourth, the Iron only managing to half clear a corner from the left. Baptiste picked up the loose ball 30 yards out and let fly, the ball taking a big deflection before beating Slocum, who did well to even get a hand on it. Scunthorpe did find the net again, although it was immediately ruled out for offside. Fort's low cross finding Sparrow at the far post for a tap-in, but even he had no complaint about the assistant's flag. Blackpool pushed forward looking for a fifth and nearly found one through Brett Ormerod, his 20-yard effort bouncing off the top of the crossbar.
Cathcart, Lansbury, Danny Graham, cleverly looking for Helgeson. 1-0 Watford. It's as simple as that. The Iceman does it again, and Watford are in front. For Hodgson, Don Cowie, back across by Graham. It's Helgeson. 2-0. The man can do no wrong. 2 in 2 minutes for Heide Helgeson. And Watford are 2 in front. Cowie, Danny Graham, Lansbury, will he have a go? He does, takes a deflection. Cleverly, keeps it in. And Henry Lansbury. Is that handball? Oh. And here is Henry Lansbury again. It's opened up for him and Danny Graham. It's 3-0. Danny Graham makes it 3. And surely that is 3 points for the Hornets as early as the 3rd minute of the second half. Up in the air by Mariappa. Cleverly beaten to it. O'Connor tries a shot. Oh, and another good save. Michael O'Connor really got hold of that one. Don Cowie lands pretty forward. Cowie didn't pick the ball out, but Ongala's let it go to Ellington. Everybody's missed it, and the goalkeeper just got a touch. And Lloyd Doyley won't need to do anything with the ball because the referee brings proceedings to a close. 2 first-half goals from Heide Helgesen and 1 3 minutes into the second half from Danny Graham have given Watford a deserved victory here. A day when it's been raining, and one could say the iron showed signs of rust. It finished here, Watford 3, Scunthorpe United 0.
The Iron made a terrible start and were behind after just 3 minutes at Glanford Park. Keeper Joe Murphy kept them in the game, and in the final minute they equalised. Martin Wolford made the final score 1-1.
Park was a sight to behold in the December sun, and United took the points against a Coventry side that offered little in the way of attack. A clever training ground move very nearly led to the first goal as McCann's cross was deflected just over the bar. The replay angle shows just how close it was. Joe Murphy picked up what looked like a bad leg injury and was replaced by Josh Lillis. The Glanford Park crowd offered generous applause as Murphy left the field on a stretcher. Then came the only goal of the game. Hazen Hooper linking up beautifully in midfield, and the prolific marksman placed his shot in the bottom corner and wheels away to celebrate. Even manager Nigel Adkins punched the air in delight. Thankfully for Scunthorpe, Joe Murphy's leg injury was less serious than it first appeared, and he was able to return to the starting lineup for the short trip to Oakwell, and he was called into action early on, tipping Shotton's header over for a corner during the opening exchanges. The hosts took the lead in the second half through Kolachi as he got just enough contact to divert the ball past United stopper. Barnsley weren't in front for long though. McCann's near-side corner was flicked goalward by Hooper, only for him to hit the inside of the post with his attempt. But Togwell was in the right place to nod in the rebound and level things up. Murphy was called into action again to deflect away a free kick he must have expected someone to touch. The touch never came and he had to readjust at the last second. In the late stages at the other end, Gary Hooper had a great chance to snatch all 3 points with a late volley, but could only shoot wide. The flags were flying in Berkshire when the Iron travelled south to play Reading. And Scunthorpe came close to going ahead. A clever through ball from Paul Hayes finding strike partner Hooper, who couldn't find a way past Federici at his near post. The Royals then broke the deadlock. A sharp pass into the area and a looping back post cross was met firmly by the head of Raziak, who couldn't miss from close range. The start of the second half saw Reading lay siege to the Scunthorpe goal. Firstly, Lillis pulled off an amazing close-range save. Next, it was the turn of Sigurdsson, who made room for a shot from the edge of the area before firing narrowly wide. Next, and very much against the run of play, Scunthorpe equalised. Hayes chested the ball down in the area and fed Hooper, who finished nicely from close range. The Iron should have taken all 3 points. Jonathan Fort produced a dazzling run which left the Royals' defence in tatters, but unfortunately he couldn't find a finish to match and the points were shared at the Medeski. Boxing Day trip to the Riverside was never going to be an easy prospect, and the 8th minute dismissal of Cliff Byrne for what the referee deemed to be a foul made the task even harder. Byrne's look of disbelief clearly obvious, as the travelling supporters were left puzzled by what the official thought he'd seen. The spot kick was dispatched by Borough's Adam Johnson and left the Iron with a mountain to climb. Borough looked comfortable at home with a man advantage and soon grabbed the second goal, Williams knocking the ball home from the edge of the area following a kind deflection into his path. Ex-Arsenal frontman Jeremy Aliadier made it 3 for the hosts, his scuffed shot somehow going in off the post after the Iron defence had again been stretched in the 46th minute. Towards the end, a piece of quick thinking sent Gary Thompson racing away down the right, but his shot from a narrow angle was off target, and even the late dismissal of Leroy Lita for Borough did nothing to affect the outcome. Scunthorpe started brightly against high-flying West Brom. Josh Wright's long ball was flicked into the path of Gary Thompson, who shot just wide from 15 yards out. West Brom went in front after 19 minutes. Murphy was only able to push the cross away from goal, and the ball sat up for Dorrans on his unfavoured left foot to find a gap through 3 men on the line. The supporters at Glanford Park never stopped cheering the Iron though, and erupted when Josh Wright's cross-come shot was touched in by stand-in captain Jones after 47 minutes. Andrew Wright continued Scunthorpe's poor recent run of discipline by receiving his second yellow card and consequently his marching orders after a rash challenge on 61 minutes. The Baggies nearly restored their lead from the resultant free kick. Doran's right-footed set-piece headed in, but from an offside position. Dorrans was pulling the strings for West Brom though, and when he raced into the box, Michael O'Connor tripped him from behind. The referee gave the penalty and booked keeper Murphy for his sarcastic applause before booking O'Connor for the foul. When the dust had settled, Dorrans took the spot kick himself, beating Murphy, although the Iron keeper just got a hand to the ball. With the sending off and the penalty decision, the referee had done little to ingratiate himself to the Glanford Park faithful, so when he gave a second penalty and then seconds later sent off McCann for foul and abusive language, it's little wonder that derogatory remarks were clearly available from the fans. This time Dorrans went the other way with his penalty and paid the price, as it was brilliantly saved by Murphy, low to his right. West Brom unsurprisingly got a third goal against the 9 men of Iron, Zwivaloon lashing the ball home after an incisive pass into the box. The final whistle, it was obvious the referee had had a pivotal role to play in this game. Having recently shared a draw at Oakwell, Barnsley came to Glanford Park looking to try and take something back home with them. And when Luke Steele made a complete hash of his clearance, it looked as though Gary Thompson would capitalise, but the Barnsley keeper did well to get back and make the tackle. Barnsley was seeing the best of Josh Lillis too, Halfredson bringing a good save from him on his near post. Fort was full of tricks and Barnsley's defence were being mesmerised by them. When Fort played the ball into Sparrow, he let it run through for Hayes on the far post, who slotted home the only goal of the game. And as Lillis cleared the ball, the final whistle ended the game, and the Iron had taken 4 points from the Tykes in just a few weeks.
The last league meetings between these clubs in August last year and way back in March 1964 both ended with a 3-2 victory for the visitors, Scunthorpe. Flag stays down, they're in here, and Scunthorpe take the lead. There were hopeful glances across to the linesman on the far side, but the flag wasn't raised. And it's number 2. And the boos ring out around the Pride Park Stadium at a really soft goal. This is Pearson. Commons does well to slip one, still has it, great opportunity, and it's gone in, and Derby have got there, 1 goal back, and he's pulled it back, and he's pulled it back too far, but it's measured, and it's a great 3rd goal, and it's Thompson again, and it's Scunthorpe leading now by 3 goals to 1, and that was always the danger. Oh, it was almost a hat-trick, and it's a 4th goal, and it's Forte, the substitute, who's got the 4th for Scunthorpe after Gary Thompson's shot was blocked. And it's a real drubbing for Derby County.
Scunthorpe took the lead against the Welsh side when Paul Hayes found a straying arm. And amazingly for such a well-executed finish, the resulting free kick was Michael O'Connor's 2nd and last goal of the season. But Scunthorpe were denied a 3rd straight league win in the cruelest of fashions, Peter Whittingham's shot taking a huge deflection. City visited Glanford Park and were expected by many to run riot, as they had done when the two sides met at Eastlands. And Petrov hit an absolute cracker to open the scoring, leaving Murphy with no chance at all. Paul Hayes was pleased to be playing some of the world's best plays in front of his family and friends, and made it an occasion to remember when he crashed in a volley to make it 1 apiece. City made it 2-1 through Onuoha, and he side-footed home after beating the Irons offside trap. And Silvino scored a real beauty to extend City's advantage to 3-1. Paul Hayes then scored his 2nd of the match to narrow the deficit to 3-2. Not quite as spectacular as his first, but there aren't many who score twice in a game against Roberto Mancini's side. And to cap things off, Robinho, Britain's most expensive player, added some Brazilian flair to proceedings. A local derby had the crowd in high spirits at Glanford Park, with the home fans sensing a victory was possible against their struggling neighbours. And those expectations were given a huge boost as Gary Hooper latched onto a classy through ball and buried it past Lee Grant to give the Iron the lead. Into the second half, and a move that started right at the back resulted in some lovely flowing one-touch football that found Hooper. Hayes' run dragged the defence the wrong way, and Hooper found McCann, who put it right in the top corner at the second time of asking. The Iron nearly made it 3-0 with an audacious overhead kick that had the Owls keeper backpedalling to turn it over the bar. But United had the point in the bag and received a standing ovation from their supporters and their manager. Bernie Eccleston and Flavio Briatore were in attendance at Loftus Road for the visit of Scunthorpe United. The London side did find the net shortly afterwards, but both the flag was raised and the whistle had sounded before the shot was hit, even though the decision looked a tight one. A clever iron set piece confused the Rangers' defence enough for Sam Togwell to find space for a shot in the area, but he blazed it well over the bar. Gary Hooper then found the top corner with a beautifully placed header, but was flagged offside. And just as it looked as though the game was heading for a stalemate, it was Hooper again who bamboozled the Rangers' defence and found Thompson, who scored from close range, much to the delight of the away support. Rangers tried everything to get back on terms, but were limited to long shots that were comfortable for Murphy, and the Iron left Loftus Road with a crucial 3 points. Another bumper crowd at Glanford Park seemed certain to see their side take the lead, certainly one that Captain Cliff Byrne won't want to see again. One man who did have his shooting boots on though was Butterfield, who was unlucky not to have found the net with this great strike shortly after coming on as a sub. At the other end, Palace were applying the pressure, and it told when the defence stood off Darren Ambrose. He moved into the area before unleashing an unstoppable drive to put Palace a goal up. And it didn't get any better for United from there. Williams was shown a straight red when he was adjudged to have brought down Kieran Jalali. But as often happens, the 10 men of Scunthorpe found a way to bounce back, and it was the unlikely source of David Murphy who provided a quality header to level things up. Scunthorpe held on gamely until their hopes of getting a point were shattered in stoppage time. Palace's Dans hit a left-footed curler from the edge of the box which crept inside the far post, sent the points to Selhurst Park. The Iron visited the Hawthorns looking to cause an upset against Roberto Di Matteo's side, and Sam Togwell went close, lifting his shot just over the crossbar. And the Baggies went just as close at the other end. If anything, Bednar was more wasteful, with an effort he should have kept down, rather than going for power. He quickly made up for his mistake though, flicking home a Robert Corran cross to give the Baggies a slender advantage. Joe Murphy had to be at his best to keep the score down. Another stunning save, diving to his right to deny Chris Brunt. There was nothing he could do to stop Zwiverloon racing through and scoring West Brom's second, and he spotted a big gap in the Iron defence. Cliff Byrne was then given a straight red card for bringing down Slory as he raced through the defence to collect a well-timed pass. Despite Byrne's pleas that it was accidental, the official had already made up his mind. Murphy then made another excellent save from nearly point-blank range to stop Cox scoring a third for the Baggies. Murphy had kept the scoreline respectable for Scunthorpe, and despite his show of frustration at the final whistle, he had easily been the Irons' best player. The Walkers Stadium in Leicester was the next port of call for Scunthorpe and their travels, and they won't want to hurry back after a rampant Leicester side put 5 past them. First to get his name on the score sheet was Morrison, heading home an in-swinging free kick from 8 yards out. Murphy's goal kick was then easily won by the Foxes in midfield, and a sweeping left-to-right move found Gallagher to net his first of the afternoon. A chance to get back into the game saw McCann's corner met by Jones, who was unlucky to hit the woodwork. But then Leicester made it 3-0, Gallagher getting his second of the afternoon from a free kick just outside the box. 4-0 followed shortly after. A right-wing cross from Gallagher was met by a miscued defensive header which fell straight to Waghorn, and he needed no second invitation to blast the ball home. The Iron did eventually get a goal back, a cut-back cross from Michael Rains finding Paul Hayes, who made no mistake from 15 yards. Gallagher then completed his hat-trick with a clever back header when he had beaten the offside trap to make it 5-1. All in all, a miserable afternoon for the Iron in Leicester, succumbing to their biggest league defeat of the season. Scunthorpe and Barnsley met again at Glanford Park, and having won their last encounter by 1-0, they set out with real confidence. And it didn't take them long to get going either. Matt Sparrow's cross from the right was cleverly angled in by Hooper's deft touch to give the Iron the lead. Hayes then forced Luke Steele into a cracking save when he turned and hit his shot on the volley. The Tykes keeper had to be lightning quick to get down and make the save. Barnsley then wasted a glorious chance to get back on level terms. A tidy cross to the back post was headed wide by Texera, with a goal gaping in front of him. Barnsley did restore parity when Jones slipped in defence and allowed Bogdanovic time to measure his shot and side-foot it past Murphy for 1-1. But Scunthorpe upped the ante and had the Barnsley defence in all sorts of trouble. A corner led to 3 blocked shots in as many seconds, and when the ball was played out to Hayes, he very calmly placed his shot past Steele to put the Iron back in front late on. Scunthorpe had put on a really good team performance against their local rivals, and they gained as much satisfaction from that as achieving the 3 points. Watford started brightly and may have taken the lead when Cowie aimed for the top corner from the edge of the box. Hooper and Hayes hit over 50 goals between them last season for the Iron. The same combo were at it again, this time Hayes with the through ball and Hooper with the finish. Watford equalised when Scunthorpe failed to defend a corner, and Graham was on hand to stroke the ball in from close range. Then what had been a well-tempered game turned into an all-out ruck when Cleverley committed a horror challenge on O'Connor. O'Connor reacted, maybe out of protection, but the Watford youngster was the only one sent off. Watford then went in front with a well-placed header by Eustace from the far side corner. Scunthorpe hit back for a point almost immediately. The clear signal from official Mr Webb was that Demerit had successfully used both arms to block a Hayes shot. Penalty was the correct decision, and Hooper made no mistake. That made it 2-2, and as soon as Watford kicked off, the whistle sounded. The points were shared between the two sides. Roy Keane's tractor boys were in town to take on Scunthorpe, and both sides needed the points to get themselves to safety. Scunthorpe keeper Murphy was saved by his crossbar early on as Walters saw him well off his line. But the Iron took the lead. and from an unusual source in captain Cliff Byrne, and they exposed the defensive frailties of Ipswich when it came to defending set pieces. Those weaknesses were nearly taken full advantage of shot before, for some reason unbeknown to in his ways, but it was the Midlands club to the better early chances, and the scramble resulted nearly deflected in off Mackindo. The Blues did take the lead though when Stead stroked in a left-footed daisy cutter from the edge of the box, despite Murphy clearly thinking. The Iron were then awarded a penalty when Hooper was rugby tackled in the box after beating his marker. Leon Barnett earned a second yellow card. Scunthorpe not only had a penalty but a man advantage. But Hooper's penalty was not his best and was well saved by Westwood, who did enough to ensure the rebound went wide too. Coventry then went 2-0 up with a free kick straight out of the top draw. Klingon angling the ball perfectly into the top corner of Murphy's net, leaving the Iron goalkeeper powerless. Scunthorpe though went straight up to the other end of the pitch and pulled a goal back when McCann smashed home Thompson's cross to make it 2-1 to the hosts. And they very nearly repeated the trick shortly afterwards. Again it was Thompson who crossed from the left, and a very clever cushioned header put the ball in the net, but the assistant had his flag raised for what must have been a very tight call indeed. Nigel Adkins and Roy Keane's sides met for the second time in quick succession, this time at Portman Road. The last game had finished all square, but it got a little feisty towards the end, and it was more of the same. Cliff Byrne was sent off for a challenge on Jack Colback. Ipswich then had Damien Delaney dismissed for a deliberate trip on Jonathan Fort. The big difference with this game was that there was a goal, although it wasn't much to write home about. It came from a Route 1 manoeuvre that found 16-year-old Connor Wickham, who turned and fired past Murphy. Scunthorpe journeyed north to runaway league leaders Newcastle, but were one of only a few teams that had beaten them in the league this season. The Magpies were, however, unbeaten at home and had every intention of keeping it that way. Andy Carroll got Newcastle's first goal, meeting a corner with a powerful header. And they soon added a second when Peter Lovenkrantz beat the offside trap and calmly passed the ball into the net. The Iron goal was living a charmed life. Any number of Newcastle players could have scored, as Colaccini played the ball back across the face of goal. Andy Carroll did make it 3 though, as Newcastle piled on the pressure with a long ball over the top. Carroll finished the move with a chip over the keeper and ended up in the crowd, for which he was duly booked. The Iron welcomed Argyle to Glanford Park and were looking to turn around the scoreline from their trip to the south coast. Mackie showed quick feet to get his shot on target, but Murphy, as always, was up to the task. Argyle then put a lovely flowing passing move together down the left flank. The Scunthorpe defence were caught cold as Mackie stole between 2 defenders to slide the ball home. Scunthorpe are a resilient side though, and rallied after going a goal down to get themselves back in the game. A quick free kick found Togwell on the right, and his first time cross was put in the net by Thompson to level the scores. Bollasey proved there was still attacking spirit in the Argyle side by forcing Murphy into making another save. but in the second half, as Wolford cut inside to shoot, he saw his effort take a huge deflection and beat the Argyle keeper, diving away to his right. A golden opportunity for a third goal manifested itself as Fort was allowed clean through on goal after a defensive howler, but his shot was too near Stockdale and he was able to stop it low to his right. Scunthorpe had been soundly beaten at London Road earlier in the season by 3-0, and Nigel Adkins changed his strategy because the Scunthorpe that played this game were far superior. A firm but fair challenge from Sparrow and a ball to Hayes that just invites him to run and shoot will normally provide a goal from the striker, as it duly did on this occasion. Hayes then turned provider for the man in yellow boots, who added a second, which left the keeper no chance. The Iron did get the ball in the net for a third time, but Hayes clearly pushed the goalkeeper. When the third goal did come, it was an absolute belter. Captain for the night Sam Togwell with a 30-yard strike that had Lewis beaten all ends up. The Tangerines weren't looking too tangerine when they left the seaside and made their way to Glanford Park. The crowd were in for a treat, and Blackpool took the lead when Andrew Wright inadvertently put the ball through his own net. Scunthorpe got back on level terms in the second half when McCann made the most of the contact in the area. He went down under the challenge. The referee agreed there had been some contact and enough for him to point to the spot. McCann struck the penalty firmly with his left foot to level things at 1-1. Blackpool then retook the lead when the Iron defence parted like the Red Sea, allowing Coleman to waltz through and shoot. But Blackpool's third was a typical DJ Campbell header as he peeled away from his marker and found room at the far post. Campbell got the Seasiders' fourth too. The Scotsman Charlie Adam did all the damage with a solo run, and Campbell was on hand to tap in the ricochet off the inside of Murphy's leg. Scunthorpe pulled one back through a nice combination of McDermott, Thompson and then Hooper at the back post to make it 4-2 to Blackpool. But the Seasiders had enjoyed their day out at Scunthorpe and had taken 3 points to further their own playoff ambitions. It was yet another trip to South Wales for Nigel Adkins and his team. Scunthorpe arrived at Deepdale knowing that if Preston won this game, then they would save themselves from the possibility of relegation. And the way the Iron started, it almost looked as though they were trying to help them. The Scunthorpe defence teeing up Preston's top scorer Parkin to open the scoring on 28 minutes. Scunthorpe were creating chances though, Hayes setting up McCann, and his effort was well saved by Lonergan. The equaliser did come, after some staggeringly bad defending that allowed Thompson to make it 1-1. Thompson nipped in again behind the Preston defence and again he found the net. A clever first touch from him and the ball went in off the post. Scunthorpe were 2-1 up with 5 minutes to play, but somehow managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. First of all, the Iron defence allowed Jones to pop up and bury a header from close range in the 86th minute. And then in injury time, they stood off Tracy, practically inviting him to shoot, and when he did, he scored and ensured Preston's league safety. This game will forever be remembered by Gary Hooper. The Scunthorpe marksman bagged a hat-trick as his side looked to gather enough points to survive in the Championship. If the first was a bit scrappy, then the second showed his tenacity. And the third showed pace and class. Three for Hooper, 3-0 against Bristol City, the final score. This was a game that Scunthorpe needed to get something from to ensure their survival, and it was a nervy encounter until the end. First of all, Reading's Sigurdsson should have at least hit the target when put through. Then McCann hit the bar in the second half with a free kick, just to show that Scunthorpe were in the hunt. A little later, and Reading were in front. Howard's free kick was touched on and knocked in by Alex Pearce. Perhaps even nerves were starting to affect Hooper, who demonstrated that he is human, and he missed an open goal. And with Scunthorpe misfiring, Reading capitalised by scoring a second. McAnuff was tripped in the box by Byrne, and Sigurdsson got away with a duffed penalty against Joe Murphy for a 2-0 lead. But then the drama really unfolded. Hooper made it 2-1 after 81 minutes when he knocked in Federici's parry from Thompson's shot. And then, in the 89th minute, Matt Sparrow found the equaliser after Ford had knocked the ball down with a cushioned header. Two all meant Scunthorpe had got the point they needed to remain in the Championship. The cameras caught Scunthorpe boss Nigel Adkins chatting with Billy Sharp prior to kick-off at the Keepmoat. The fans, however, were in for a real treat when the players took to the field as Rovers edged a 7-goal thriller over their local rivals in a game that will be remembered for a long time to come. Scunthorpe started the scoring with Hayes lofting the ball to Hooper, who squeezed the ball under Sullivan with his right foot. Rovers were soon back on terms though when Emmanuel Thomas lobbed the ball over Joe Murphy with deadly accuracy. And with footwork like that, it was no surprise that Rovers were soon in the lead. Roberts' left wing cross was sweetly volleyed home at the back post by Much. Into the second half, and Paul Hayes took full advantage of some poor defending from Shelton Martis to level things up at 2-2. James Hayter then ran onto a nice touch from Emmanuel Thomas to put Rovers 3-2 in front, his shot going in off the inside of Murphy's post. Hooper then pulled it back to 3-3 when the Donny defence failed to clear a ball in their penalty area. and with time running out, Donny got their winner. A long corner finding the head of Martis, who made up for his earlier error by heading the winner and giving Rovers the bragging rights. The Iron welcomed Forest to Glanford Park for the last home game of the season, and it was to end on a positive note for Nigel Adkins' men as they came from 2 goals down to register a point once again. Lillis had already made one good save before Joe Garner picked his way through the home defence to score from 16 yards. George Boyd added a second for Forest in the 41st minute, and from this point it would have been easy for Scunthorpe to capitulate. But they did exactly the opposite. Firstly, Canavan pulled a goal back 4 minutes after the restart after some hesitant defending. And Scunthorpe nearly got their equaliser when Hooper's cheeky improvised header came back off the crossbar. And then, after some tenacious work in midfield from Hooper, Thompson saw a gap and rifled the ball into the top corner. Scunthorpe had done well to guarantee a championship place for the following season, a feat even more impressive when you consider the size of clubs they were playing like Nottingham Forest. A look at the table shows they finished an eventual 5 points clear. And just look at the clubs beneath them, Crystal Palace, Sheffield Wednesday among them. They could all look forward to another season in the Championship for 2010-2011.